Hey loves, this is Bobby and I am here with another video. And this is going to be my September wrap-up video. I read a total of 18 books with one DNF. This is the first DNF I've had in a really long time. And that DNF threw me into a reading slump and I did not finish my TBR for September. I am so bummed about it because this is the first month where I didn't finish my TBR. So yeah, but let's get into this. I'm gonna try and keep this a little shorter because my freaking wrap-ups are always so long. So I'm not gonna talk about every single one of these books in detail like I normally do. I'm just going to kind of say the things that I liked about it, things I didn't like about it. And I'm going to do like I always do, from my 1-star books to my 5-star books, but within the different star groups, the books aren't in any particular order. I just kind of where I stack them. So let's get started. The first book is my one DNF of the month and the one that threw me into a reading slump, and I still haven't finished it yet. That is Wizard and Glass by Stephen King. This is the 4th book in the Dark Tower series. I have liked all the other books so far. This one, though, we go back in time and we learn more about the Roland's past, who is the gunslinger, and I don't care. I do not care. I can't even tell you what half of this book is about. This is a big book. I'm a little past the halfway point and I can't tell you most of what's gone on in here because I just don't care. Like, I don't care about the characters. I think it's because I'm so attached to the current timeline characters that I just don't care about the past. Like, it's just not interesting to me. It just messed me up so bad and I'm so mad. I'm gonna finish this though. I need to because I do want to get into, I want to finish this series. I'm determined to finish this series by the end of the year. So there we go. That is a DNF. I'm so sad about that because I haven't had a DNF in a while, but there we go. The next book is my one-star book, and that is It's Not Like It's a Secret by Misa Sakura. This is an LGBT contemporary YA. This features 2 main characters who are both women of color, as well as it being a sapphic romance. I had such high hopes for this one. I just kind of wanted something cute and, you know, that deals with, you know, and then especially since both characters in this sapphic romance are both women of color, you know, I was looking forward to, like, you know, maybe some racial elements and stuff like that. And while I got that, it did not go down the way I was hoping because holy crap, I hated this book. I will link the vlog where I literally just kind of went on a rant about this, even though I said I wasn't going to go on a rant, but I did because I hated it so much. This had so much potential and then it just went straight down the toilet. It made me very angry to read it because the author tried to make different racial comments against, because the main character is Japanese and the love interest is Mexican. She tries to make it seem like some racial comments are equal to one another and they're not, and there is a like 3-page racial rant where the main character Sana literally just kind of rants and just makes some of the most disgusting comments to her girlfriend and her girlfriend's friends about them being Mexican and being lazy, and then it was just like forgiven out of nowhere. That was unforgivable for me. She learned nothing by the fucking end of it. I was so angry. I'm getting angry. I will be unhauling this book. I never want to see it again. I will never read anything by this author again because, yeah, this was one of those where it's like you did not understand what you were trying to do and you kept on going, and it was just like watching a, you know, car crash in slow motion where it's just like, wow. Yeah, so 1 star. If I could give it less, I would have. The next 2 are going to be my 2 2-star books. The first one is going to be An Illusion of Thieves by Kate Glass. This one I can see a lot of people really liking. It just wasn't for me. A lot of the kind of tropes and certain elements in here were things I just really did not like, but it is really beautifully written. I really liked the writing and there were certain characters that I really liked. My favorite thing about this is the magic. People have different types of magic. I kind of equal it a little to like X-Men type of powers, where everyone has like their own gift. We have some that can mess with memories, some that can change the way they look, some that can make doorways by drawing a door type of thing. Like, it was really cool, and this is set in like a Renaissance Italy, I believe it is. So the setting and stuff were really cool. It's just some of the elements in here I didn't care for. I did not like the main character all that much, and I didn't like her brother. The romance in here, while this doesn't have really feature romance heavily, it does deal with some certain topics that can be triggering for some people. The main character is sold into sexual slavery as a child, and she is groomed that way, but it is very much romanticized in here, which I did not like. It made me feel gross, and it was very seen as okay because she falls in love with her master ruler guy, and then her relationship with her brother at first can be really there's a scene where he keeps sneaking away, so to keep him from doing that, she ties him up and forces him to stay. It's very kind of like dubcon for a lot of things, but like I said, this has like the very morally gray characters, which I usually would like, but mine was just like the romance aspect and stuff like that could not get into. So I gave it 2 stars. I have the sequel. I will not be reading it because, like I said, I just didn't connect with it at all. I will probably be unhauling this one as well. The next 2-star book was one of the most anticipated books for the entire year for me. I had been dying to read it. I was so happy to finally get into it. And then it crashed and burned. And that was The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. I talked about this book in a vlog, and I had to do the vlog as soon as I finished it because I had a feeling I wasn't going to remember most of what happened in this book. And lo and behold, I don't remember most of what went on in this book because I didn't care. This was the most boring fucking book I've read in a really long time. Like, this book is broken up into 3 parts, and you could literally take off the second part and you will not miss anything, like, at all. The writing was beautiful. I love Station 11. That's why I was so excited to read this one. But when it came down to it, I remember absolutely nothing about it but the fact that the writing was really pretty. So yeah, there's that. Okay, now we're on to my 3-star books. This one, I have the entire series. I have bought it over the years. I always kind of find it at thrift stores. I think I've gotten every single one of these like used and from thrift stores or like the Dollar Tree. So I've kind of just randomly collected it, never picked it up, finally decided to read it, and you know what, it was a lot of fun. And that is Blue Bloods by Melissa Dela Cruz. This is a vampire YA book. This is set in like the early 2000s, so you can totally hear the ice cream man in the background, I'm sorry. But this takes place in New York, and we follow a bunch of high society teenagers that go to like an elite type of boarding school-ish. They don't live on campus, but it's like, you know, richy like that. And it's a lot of fun. It was a lot different than I thought it was going to be. We actually get history on vampires, as well as like how far they go back and possibly where they start and everything. This also took a really, I'm not going to spoil it, but this takes a really cool turn using other creatures and stuff like that. And it was a lot of fun. I cannot wait to get to the second book, hopefully soon. I really liked the characters. I felt a little more connected to the high schoolers because this takes place in, I think, 2006. I graduated high school in 2007, so a lot of it felt, yeah, I'm an old lady. So a lot of this felt like, okay, I can vibe with this. I know what's going on. I don't feel like an old person. But it was a lot of fun. Like, if you like Twilight and stuff like that, I would definitely recommend this. It's just a really fun series. It doesn't take itself too seriously. The only thing is there is some incest and some very weird kind of other type of romancy thingies going on in here. It's not like, I won't even say, it's kind of like pushes it a little bit, but it doesn't get anything explicit or anything like that. But yeah, it was just a lot of fun. I cannot wait to read the rest of the series now, or at least the next book. My next 3-star is another one that was one of the most anticipated books for me. I have been dying to read it. I love the author's first book so much, and to say I went into this one with high expectations would be an understatement. And it just did not live up to the hype or anything for me, and that was Circe by Madeline Miller. This is a kind of retelling almost of Circe. When I was doing my vlog on this one, the one thing I kept saying is like I felt like I was in a history class. Like I didn't connect to any of it. I did the audiobook. Well, I started reading it first and I just found it very, very bland. So I got the audiobook and thought maybe, okay, this will really help. It didn't. Like this whole book just kind of reads like a textbook almost. Like it's just, I didn't connect. I didn't get any feelings from it. I loved though the story and meeting all the other historical figures through, you know, Greek mythology and all that. That was really cool. But all in all, it just felt so flat for me, and like the whole book felt really monotone, and I just didn't connect to anybody. I didn't really care what was going on, which is so different from Song of Achilles, because that is one of the very few books that I've ever cried while reading, and I even like think about that book and I feel like I'll cry. So to get into a book like this where I was just completely just unaffected, didn't care, it really kind of, I guess it made me feel even worse about it, because like there was no connection for me. But I can see why a lot of people do like it. Like I said, it just didn't live up to the hype for me. So sadly, it went into the 3-star. It wasn't bad or anything. I didn't get any kind of emotion at all from it, besides when is it going to end. So the next one was another one that I was super excited for, because I absolutely loved the first book. And as I said during the vlog when I talked about this, the reason why I didn't like it is a solely me thing. It had nothing to do with the book or the writing or anything, or development or anything like that. Pacing and all that was great. This was just had one of the tropes that I absolutely hated, and that is Bruja Born by Zoraida Cordova. I loved everything about this except it has one trope that I freaking hate, and I hate it in TV shows, I hate it in movies. I have literally stopped watching shows because it had that trope, and that is the trope of like a kind of CIA supernatural group. Like I don't like it. I find it stupid. I don't think it has any reason to be there, and it just irritates me, and I can't tell you why, because like I love things like movies and shows with like, you know, CIA and stuff like that. I love like James Bond types of movies and stuff like that, but when it adds it to a supernatural type of setting, it just doesn't fit, and I find it really corny and I can't enjoy it. And that was what happened with this one. This is the second book. The first one is Labyrinth Lost. I did really like the characters and everything. I liked how we expanded the world and everything in this. Like the pacing was great. All around, it was a really cool book. I probably would have went with 4 stars if it wasn't for the fact that I just hate that trope so much. I don't enjoy it, and it kept pulling me out of the story because I find it so corny for me. Like I don't know what it is. Like I cannot tell you why I don't like that, but I don't, and I was really sad to see that that came in here, because especially because there's nothing like that in the first book. The first book is like a straight up kind of like supernatural paranormal type of story with cool witches, and we go into this other world. This one we stay in our world, but we go branched out more and learning more about the different creatures that we find. And I liked the main character, who is the sister for the main character in the first one. I liked learning more about her magic and all that, but as a whole, it was just that one glaring, I could not enjoy it. So there we go. I do recommend the series. I'm still gonna read the last book. I have it. I can't wait to get into it. Now that I know that, you know, supernatural CIA group is there, I can at least brace myself for it, because it literally came out of nowhere, and that was, I think, one of the things that got me, is because I was not expecting it, because it didn't have anything to do with the first one. So there we go. The next one was the last book I read for the month. It was a lot of fun, but this was another one that had a trope in it that I really don't enjoy, and it just kind of like, ugh. Well, it's 2 tropes that I don't enjoy, and it kind of just brought it down a lot for me, but it was so much fun. I do want to read the second one. I still recommend it, and that is A Blade So Black by L.L. McKinney. This is a Alice in Wonderland retelling. Alice kicks ass. She knows how to use weapons. Wonderland is this kind of dark kind of world that, you know, is into all kinds of crazy things. We got crazy monsters and stuff like that cross over into our world. It was a lot of fun. The action and everything in here is really great. The pacing is pretty good. The writing was, you know, awesome. Mine is just, this has one of the romance tropes that I don't like, and that is the kind of ageless, immortal being falling in love with a teenager. I don't know if it's because I'm older now. Like when I was a teenager, I didn't mind it because, you know, I was a teenager and who didn't want like a immortal vampire type of, kind of romancy type thing. But as an adult, I see how that is very problematic. You know, someone being a lot older, and especially because this character also has an influence on her that it just doesn't sit well with me. So that was a bit problematic, and it kept popping up. And then there was a love triangle that didn't need to happen. So, but those two things were what kind of brought it down for me. But it was a lot of fun. I recommend this this book if you like retellings, if you like Alice in Wonderland retellings, especially. The main character is a black woman, and like I said, she's really cool. I loved all the action. There were some really great action scenes in here, but it was just the romance that kind of brought it down for me. And I listened to the audiobook, and I wasn't a big fan of the narrator, but I was doing something while I was listening to it, and I was already invested, and I wasn't going to stop. So yeah, I recommend it. Just didn't live up to what I was hoping for it. Alright, so we're going on to the 4-star books. I've got quite a few of those. This is, I think, the biggest pile that I have. The first one I'm going to talk about is the ebook that I read, and that is We Unleash the Merciless Storm by Taylor K. Mejia. This is a sequel. The first one is We Set the Dark on Fire. I read the first one last month, and I really liked it, and I could not wait to get into the second one. I really enjoyed this. The only thing is that I didn't know going in that we were going to be switching point of views, because I really got attached to the main character in the first one, which is Danny. In this one, we're following Carmen. I can't talk too much about it because we are left on a huge cliffhanger, as well as a lot of spoilers going into it, but it was really fun, great action packed. This is like a dystopian set into a world that is very similar to ours, especially when it comes to like Mexican culture and stuff like that, which, as you know, a Latina, I super enjoyed. Like, it was great. I love the characters. This is a sapphic romance book, which I loved the romance. It was a really great enemies to lover. Taylor K. Mejia knows how to write horrible men characters, because holy crap, do you hate the male characters, especially the antagonists. Like, they are so awful, and you want bad things to happen to them, and every time something does happen to them, you're very happy about that fact. But I love this. It was really fun. I definitely want to read more. I don't know if Taylor K. Mejia has more books out. If she does, I definitely want to read them. If not, I look forward to more from her, because like I said, I just really enjoyed this one. It was so much fun. The next one was the first book that I read in the month, and it is a classic that I had never picked up before, and I was very happy with it, and that is The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. How I had never read this, I don't know, but I am not the biggest fan of classics. I just have a hard time with them sometimes. They just don't stick with me. A lot of times the writing and stuff doesn't sit well with me, but I love this. I did the audiobook. The audiobook though was narrated by a woman, so I kept reading this as because the main character is married, so I kept reading it as as a sapphic romance, which was weird because it's not supposed to be, but that's what I kept doing it because of the narrator. But this was a great sci-fi. I get why it's kind of held the test of time, because it was great. I loved the noise that the aliens kind of make, but this was like really great. The ending was kind of abrupt, but it's very fitting. So for what it's worth, I recommend this if you have not read it yet. Like, if you're late as I am to the game, fully recommend this. I really want to start reading more classics, especially when it comes to like sci-fi and horror, since those are my favorite genres. I have read The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells, and it was one of my favorites. The movie is one of my absolute favorites, the original movie. So I really gotta read more by H.G. Wells. I have the Barnes & Noble classic back here that has the whole collection and stuff, but I think I have a couple other that are just the like paperbacks of them. So yes, I liked it. Very pleasantly surprised. The next is a third book in a series, and that is The Isle of Blood by Rick Yancey. This is the third book in the Monstrumologist series. I love the first two books. Book 1 was awesome. Book 2 is probably my favorite of the series so far. There's still one more book to go after this one, which I'm planning on reading in October. Though this one was not my favorite. We got a lot more kind of background on the characters, which was a little odd for the third book in a series. But I did like it. It didn't have as heavy as a horror element as the first two, which was kind of what dragged it a bit for me. I still really, really enjoyed it. I love the character, the Monstrumologist character, Warthorpe, and his assistant Will Henry, who is the kind of narrator of the story. This is a very unique kind of style of book because Rick Yancey, who is the author, is also he's kind of like a self-insert. He is the author writing the book based off of these notebooks that he found that were Will Henry's kind of diaries of him when he was growing up, because Will Henry says that he was 130 some years old and everyone thought he was just kind of a senile old man. And in these journals it depicts and tells about his story of when he was a kid and he worked with this monstrumologist who is a scientist who studies monsters. Like I said, the first two books are phenomenal. I believe both of them were 5 stars for me. This one was 4-star, just for, like I said, we got a little more background and stuff, which was a little odd for a third book. So it felt like I was kind of like dragging a bit because I'm like, I feel like I know these characters already and now you're kind of giving me more. And then it just wasn't as horror filled as the first two, but when we did get to more of the horror elements, it was really well written. I cannot wait to get to the last book in the series and find out what happens, because I need to know how we got where we were when we find out, more about, Will Henry right before he died. So I recommend this series if you're looking for a great, horror series to read in October. So there we go. The next one was one I did not know what it was about. I bought it on a whim, and it was recommended because if you like Sadie or One of Us is Lying type of books, like the YA kind of thriller books, that I found that I really like. I picked it up and I ended up really loving it, and that is The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis. This follows the story of a girl whose sister was murdered. The murderer, though, gets off because there is apparently not enough evidence, but everybody, and I mean literally everybody, knows he's the one that's guilty. So the main character, Alex, ends up getting revenge, and she kind of finds out that she's quite good at this. This would have been a super easy 5-star if Mindy McGinnis would have kind of pushed the whole kind of revenge vigilante almost aspect to it a little farther. Like if we would have got more, this would have been a phenomenal 5-star. It felt like it just didn't reach its full potential, but it was really great. This has 3 different point of views. We have Alex, we have PK, which stands for Preacher's Kid. I can't remember what her actual name is because they literally call her PK. Alex is the only one that calls her by her actual name. And then we have the love interest, Jack, and I just really liked all 3 of them. You learn a lot through this. This focuses a lot on rape culture and how absolutely fucked up and disgusting that it is, and the fact that, the whole boys will be boys aspect, and how, males can get away with a lot of stuff that females are just demonized for. And it really is one of those eye-opening kind of books and really makes you think about it. The ending was great. This was one of those where I just almost threw the book because of an ending, but it was so good. And like I said, all 3 characters are really great, and this is one that was a really fast read, and I recommend this fully. So like I said, if you did like Sadie, you'll definitely like this one. It was just phenomenal. I really liked it. Like I said, if she would have went just a little farther, this was 4.5. If she would have went a little farther with the whole kind of revenge aspect, though, it would have gotten 5, because I just felt like it needed just a little more. But I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to read more by Mindy McGinnis. I think I actually have one of her other books, which is a YA dystopian. I have it around here somewhere. I can't remember the name of it, though. I think it's Not a Drop to Drink or something like that. But yeah, so highly, highly recommended. The next one was so much fun. I did not know what to expect when I bought it because this was an accident buy for me. I thought this was a sequel to a different book because the covers look similar, and I think I kept seeing the two of them like side by side a lot. So when I bought this one and I found out it was just a standalone and had nothing to do with the other book, you know, I just kind of put it on my shelf and forgot about it. And then I kind of picked it up because when I finally read what it was supposed to be about, it sounded really cool. And you know what? This was a fun, wild ride. If you like adventure and stuff like that, I recommend it. And that is The Lady Rogue by Jen Bennett. This is a YA historical fiction fantasy with magical type of elements. If you like Indiana Jones and like The Mummy, fully recommend this. This follows the story of a girl named, what is her name? Theodora. Her parents were treasure hunters. Her mother has passed away, and her dad, trying to protect her, brings her along but makes her stay like in the hotels while he goes off and does the, you know, treasure hunting type of thing, while he gets contacted to find a ring that belonged to Vlad the Impaler. Yes, that Vlad the Impaler. And when he does go off to look for this, all of a sudden he goes missing, and his assistant, who is the love interest in here, he ends up coming back to find Theo and tell her what happened, that her dad's gone missing. They did not separate on good terms, so we get a lot of banter and back and forth. The romance is great. It gets focused on, but it's not the main focus of the story. It's a really good kind of background. I think that part is a lot like The Mummy, where it's there, and the chemistry between them are a lot like in The Mummy. Super fun. And then when they go off and they try and find where this ring is, and the more they learn, it is just like a treasure hunt, and it's so much fun. The ending was great. Everything about this was just a really good time. I couldn't really find very many faults with it at all. Like I said, from beginning to end, I enjoyed this one. I'm kind of sad that this is a standalone. Like, it ends on a really good solid, but if the author decides to make a sequel, she could very easily do it, but having wrapped up perfectly in this one, we can go either way. But I loved this one. I highly recommend it if you just want a fun, action-packed. You can maybe hear police sirens in the background, so there we go. But yeah, fun, great. I highly recommend this one. Like I said, if you just want something super fast-paced and just a really great read with really cool characters. This next one is the last 4-star book, and I loved it so much. It was so much fun. And that one is Undead Girl Gang by Lily Anderson. This was a total cover name buy. Like, I just thought I loved the name of it and it sounded cool. I was not disappointed at all. This was a fun book. This follows the story of a girl named Mia, who she is a Latina. She is plus size. She doesn't give a fuck what anybody thinks about her. She dresses kind of punk, and I loved her so much. And her best friend and 2 of the popular girls have died with everybody keeps saying is suicide. Well, Mia does not believe that because she doesn't believe her best friend would kill herself. So because her and her best friend study Wicca, as well as, you know, they do their own like kind of little spells and stuff, though nothing has ever fully flourished. Well, she brings her friend back to life, and when she does that, she accidentally brings the 2 popular girls. This has a really great friendship, and it really shows you the different types of friends, and that just because you don't like someone or get along with someone, that they're not necessarily a bad person. Maybe you guys just didn't give, you know, each other that chance, which I really loved. There is a hint of romance in here, but it is no way front and center. The characters are great. This is one of those where I felt like the author really captured high school really accurately, and the different cliques and stuff like that. This was just a lot of fun. If you enjoy These Witches Don't Burn, I recommend this one as well. It was just a really good time. I want to read more by Lily Anderson because her writing was just really fun. The ending was great. I actually, for once, like, didn't guess the ending, which was it's always a plus for me. But yeah, it was it's not too big of a book. It's like one of those really kind of quick reads that you can get through, so I fully recommend this one, and I am so mad that I waited so long to read this because it's been on my shelf for quite a while, but loved it. Okay, now into the 5-star books. I loved every single one of these so much. I don't even know if I could pick a favorite. I might be able to, but I don't fully know. The first one is going to be The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is a middle grade fantasy, and oh my goodness, it was beautiful. I loved everything about this. The magic was beautiful, the characters were wonderful, the world was freaking dark. This was a dark damn book. I was not expecting that from it. It was pretty kind of horrifying in some spots, and I loved that because I love when authors or just anyone in general don't try and dumb things down for kids. Kids are a hell of a lot smarter than people like to give them credit for, and the amount of stuff that they are actually able to understand. And you know, like, a lot of people think that, oh, you know, you should dumb it down or you should make it a little less scary for kids. Kids are better at understanding that than adults, and this is a great book for them. This would be a great book for you to read with a kid if you have kids, especially being able to explain certain things to them. I did the audiobook for this and I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that I went with the audiobook because the voices are all absolutely wonderful. This follows the story of a girl who comes from a village. Well, when she was a baby, this village, they sacrifice one baby every year to a witch that lives in their woods. Nobody knows why she wants them or anything. They just take the newest born baby closest to the gate to sacrifice them, and you know, it starts off really sad from when we find that, and then we move over into the witch and we find out that the witch doesn't know why the hell these people keep leaving babies, but she travels there to these woods because she doesn't actually live there, but she travels there because she knows that there's going to be a baby left. So she takes this baby, feeds it Starlight, and then takes it to a neighboring village that is like on the other side of the kind of like swampy area, and lets them, you know, grow up happy, and these kids are seen as blessed because they were brought by this witch. Well, one year she finds the baby and she accidentally gives the baby Moonlight instead of Starlight, which unlocks magical powers. It is so beautiful. Like I said, like, I loved the magic in here. It was wonderful. I can definitely see myself rereading this quite a bit because I loved just everything. Like I said, the magic, and mine was just how dark it was. It reminded me a lot of Coraline by Neil Gaiman, for the fact that it does have that very dark and doesn't kind of hold back a lot. Like, I was kind of like, holy crap, we're going that way, we're going there. And the villain in here was horrifying. Like, when you kind of learn more about the villain, you're kind of like, because it's peppered through, but when you kind of realize more and more, it's just but I loved this. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it, and you get through it really fast because it is a middle grade, but I could wax poetics about this book all day. The next two are part of a series, and it has become one of my all-time favorite series now. I have officially caught up with it, and I'm so sad, and I think there's only one more book left in the series, and I'm not ready for it to end because I love every single book so much. The first one is An Absent Dream by Seanan McGuire. This is the 4th book in the Wayward Children series, and I keep saying that I can't pick a favorite in the series, but you know what? This one might be my favorite, and this might very heavily on the might be my favorite book from the month. I loved it, and I was not going in expecting to love it as much because we follow the story of one of the characters in the first book, and this is her background, and I loved her world so much. Every single one of these books are, you know, they say they're kind of standalone, but I don't feel like they are because you learn things throughout them. But this one is definitely a standalone, since we're finding background of a character that's in the first book. So you could totally, I don't recommend reading them out of order. I know some people do, but I don't. But I loved this one, and like I said, the more I think about it, the more I realize this one might actually win for favorite book of the series. The entire series has been 5-star from me, but we follow the main character, Lundy, who, her world that she ends up in is a goblin market. I'm pretty sure you know what this series is about by now. I think everybody does, and seeing as this is the fourth book in the series. But we follow Lundy, who, like I mentioned, is only in the first book, and she's not mentioned all that much. We don't get a lot of background or anything. We don't get like a full, you know, like, who is this character? And I didn't really click with her too much in the first book, but reading this one, I loved it. The Goblin Market. I've loved all the worlds so far, especially the Moors, which is from book 2, and this, I thought that was my favorite, but I think this one might be. Like, while I'm talking, I'm remembering, you know, just really thinking about it, and I loved this one. It is heartbreaking as well, especially because if you've read the first one, you know where Lundy goes, and you know how she, you know where she ends up, because she's in the first one and this is her past. I loved it so much. Like, yeah, I think this might be my favorite book from the series. Like, I'm gonna say it. It's my favorite book from the series. But like, I don't want to talk too much about it because these books are super easy to spoil because they're super short. But I highly recommend this series if you have not picked it up yet. I fully tell you, what the hell are you waiting for? Read them. They're amazing. They are inclusive. It has amazing LGBT representation in every book. This one has wonderful friendship in it, and I want to reread this one. I might have to reread this one. If I reread any of them, it'll probably be this one first. But yeah, so highly recommended. 5 stars all the way, easiest rating ever. The next one is the last book that is out in the series for the Wayward Children, and that is Come Tumbling Down by Seanan McGuire. This one I don't really want to get into because it could possibly spoil some of the other books, because this is one of the ones that does tie into the other books fully. But this features some of my favorite characters from the rest of them, and I love this one. I loved how it wrapped up, and I am dying for that last book, but I don't want it to end at the same time. Like I said, these books are super hard not to spoil stuff because of how short they are, and then like I said, this one ties into other books, and I don't want to spoil absolutely anything, but this is another one with really great representation. The romance in it is very understated but very wonderful, and I loved it, and everything about this just made me so freaking happy. So pick up this series. Do it. Alright, the next 2 books are also a series, and it was another series that I finished. If you would have believed it, before this, I never used to finish series. I'd read like the first book in a series and then never finish it until like maybe 5-6 years later. I blew through this entire series I finished the first one the month before, and then I got into these 2 in September and I finished it. So and this is a huge ass series. Like, these books are chunkers, and that is The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. This is book 2 in the Mistborn trilogy. I loved this so much. I can't get over how fast I get through these books. I finished these books in like a day and a half. I do the audiobooks, I will say that, because I really enjoy the narrator. Like, I cannot get over how much I love the narrator. I have the rest of the series, which is now blocked by those right there, but I want to finish this entire, because it's like not a full series, but they're like connected in ways. And can't get too much into this because this is the second book, but I absolutely loved it. This one has a lot more political elements to it, which usually I don't care for too much, but holy crap, I was like invested. And one of the characters that we follow a lot more was one of the ones from the first book, and I absolutely adored him. And learning more about him and seeing how the world is evolving and everything, and getting more into, you know, what is exactly going on and who the Mistborn are and everything. This is still one of my absolute, I think it is the top magic systems I've ever came across. Like, I love the magic so much in this series. It's metal based. People ingest metal to get powers, but only certain people can do this, and most people are only can ingest one metal at a time, one metal, and that's it. Others, though, Mistborns, they're able to use different metals to get different powers, and I love it. It's so well thought out. Like I said, these books are freaking chunkers. I finished them in like a day and a half because I can't stop listening. Like, I breathe them in just like they just take over my entire brain. But I absolutely love this one. I loved where it went. Brandon Sanderson knows how to end a book. That is the one thing. Like, he could probably write like the most boring book ever. Like, he could write a textbook basically and just make it super boring, but once you get to the ending, you're so invested that it'll just be 5 stars. And this one I knew was going to be 5 stars when I like picked it up, and there was no doubt that it was going to be 5 stars because it still was, and I loved it. Alright, you're going to notice those down there keep shuffling around and they keep falling off the shelf. So let's wrap this up with the last book, and that is going to be The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. This is book 3 in the Mistborn trilogy, and holy crap did I love this damn book so much. It was phenomenal. I loved every single page of it. I was so invested, and that ending, I have said it in past videos that Brandon Sanderson's endings are like a punch to the face that you tell him thank you afterwards, and that is exactly what I felt about this. It's like he tore out my freaking heart and then showed it to me, and I told him thank you before he like stomped on it, because oh my god, it was a mess, but it was so good and wonderful. His writing is absolutely brilliant. His characters, I really love his relationship between characters. He really knows how to write just really good relationships, like family-wise, romance-wise. I loved all of it. Absolutely zero complaints about this series. I loved every single book. They were all amazing. Book 1 though might win for my favorite of the series just because it was such a good beginning, and it has a heist, and you know, like heists are kind of like my favorite trope. So yeah, I can't say enough about this series. Like, if you haven't read it, I know I'm super late to the party, but if you haven't read it and you've been like thinking about reading it, I 100% recommend it because it is amazing. So there we go. There is my lovely month of reading. I did really well. Damn books just keep falling. But yes, I did wonderful. Even though I didn't finish any of my readathons, I still didn't do that bad because I think I only missed out. I think it was 4 books or so. So nothing bad, just kind of bummed that I didn't get to actually finish my readathons, but I read a lot of books. I read a lot of really good books. As you've seen, I have a lot of 4 and 5 stars, so that is always good. And some of these I can definitely already see myself wanting to reread, but there we go. I hope you liked this. I'd love to know if you've read any of these and your thoughts on any of them. If there's any of these you do plan on reading, I'd love to know that as well. So there we go. That's what's what. There's my wrap up, and I hope you enjoyed this. So as always, happy reading, and I will catch you guys next month for this. So bye!